He ordered a wife for the ranch, but his daughter's request will haunt you forever. In the heart of dusty Texas, rumors spread like wildfire, and nothing was as shocking as the story of Buck Morgan. He was a rugged rancher, muscles like wrought iron and a steely glare that could silence even the loudest cattle. But lately, something darker clouded his reputation. The townsfolk whispered he had gone mad on account of a wild, twisted decision. He ordered a wife online, like it was just a new pair of boots. But what pulled even more gossip was when his daughter, Lily, who was just 12 and wise beyond her years, made a request so strange it sent shivers down spines. Her request was not for a mother but a sister like no one could imagine. That it was a stifling afternoon when Lily stood by the cracked window of their old farmhouse, her small fingers tracing the warm, splintered wood. Outside, the sun's rays battled for dominance, beating down on parched earth. The air felt thick with the kind of tension you only see in movies before the explosion. Lily's wide green eyes sparkled with something between hope and fear, a flicker that tugged at Buck's heart. He scratched his beard, pausing in disbelief as she spoke her words, the kind that made the room feel colder. "Dad, what if I asked for a sister? One who isn't just anyone, but someone special. Someone from far away." Silence fell heavy in the ranch, broken only by the creaking of the old house, as Buck felt the weight of his child's innocence clash against that wild request. Sweat beaded on his brow, a lump formed in his throat. Who in their right mind would consider such a thing? But Lily's plea echoed, wrapping itself around his thoughts. The oddity of it nestled deep in his gut, leaving him unsteady, like a horse balancing on the edge of a cliff. Buck's hand trembled slightly as he reached for the whiskey bottle. He needed something to steady his nerves. The townsfolk's chatter, the laughter of women at the saloon, and the heavy footfalls of men carrying their burdens, all seemed to fade away. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." As Buck stared into his glass, a strange noise pulled him back from the brink. Mabel, the old cat, yowled from the corner, startling both him and Lily. Buck felt a chill creep down his spine. "What have I gotten into?" he murmured, eyes darting around the room. The uneasiness brewed like a storm cloud overhead. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Buck searched dark corners of the internet in hopes of finding someone to fulfill Lily's bizarre wish. Faces blurred on the screen, each one screaming out their tales, their struggles, and their longing for a better life. Day turned to night, and every click seemed to unveil new mysteries about the women who might change everything. What kind of sister would Lily get? Would she be a kind companion or a shadow that haunted them? As Buck turned off the computer one night, an ominous feeling washed over him. He couldn't shake the images of their future together. Soon, Lily would have her sister, but a strange sense of dread lingered like the aftertaste of something rotten. Would this decision bind them together or tear them apart forever? Only the sunrise of the next day would unveil the truth. The ranch, the cactus, and the haunting shadows of the past lay ahead. With unanswered questions clouding his mind, Buck took a deep breath, knowing his heart would never be the same. What had he unleashed? What could this sister mean? The truth loomed ahead like a ghost, whispering the secrets yet to be revealed. Dawn broke over the Texas plains, casting an eerie light across the rugged landscape. Buck leaned back in his chair, the creaking wood groaning beneath him. Lily stood by the window again, her small frame silhouetted against the morning glow, eyes scanning the horizon as if searching for something that might never arrive. The sun's rays crept into the room, illuminating the uncertainty written across Buck's weathered face. "What if she doesn't come, Dad?" Lily's voice cut through the silence, fragile and full of worry. Buck's chest tightened. He'd been thinking the same thing but hadn't he dared to voice his fears. We just need a little more patience. She'll be here soon, he managed, though doubt clung to each word like morning fog. The night before, Buck had turned to the computer again, each image of women flickering on the screen somehow tethering his fate to Lily's wild wish. Among those faces, one had caught his attention: Elena, a recent immigrant from Mexico, who had shared her dreams of a family. Was she the answer to this twisted equation? What life would she bring into their home? The thought gnawed at him. "Promise me she'll be nice," Lily whispered, her innocence piercing through Buck's gloom. "Of course she will," Buck replied, though the lie tasted bitter. Every instinct screamed that this endeavor was feeding into something much darker. Still, he felt cornered by his daughter's desperation. The days dragged on, and somewhere around the fifth sunset, the truck rumbled to life, lighting the dust of the ranch road, announcing the arrival of new hope. Yet with hope came anxiety. Buck watched as the metal frame of the truck leaped over the nearby hill. The familiar sound echoed in his ears, distant yet vivid. Was it Elena? How would she fit in their lives? And what consequences lurked beneath the surface, clamoring to be unleashed? Lily raced to the door, the heavy wood slapping against the wall as she bolted outside, a whirlwind of excitement and innocence. Buck followed, his feet dragging as each step felt heavier than the last. He raised a hand to shield his eyes from the blazing sun, his heart thundering in his chest. As the truck rolled to a stop, dust enshrouded the vehicle, making it appear like a mirage, a fleeting chance for salvation. Buck's breath hitched as the door swung open, revealing a woman who was both striking and unsettling. Elena stepped out, and for an instant, the world around them seemed to hold its breath. Lily's face lit up, pure curiosity mingling with an undercurrent of unclear feelings. Buck squinted, taking in Elena's wide, searching eyes that shimmered like dark pools filled with secrets. She leaned against the truck, her posture calm but her demeanor electric. "Hello," she said, the word rolling off her tongue with a foreign rhythm that sent shivers down Buck's spine. A smile crept across Lily's face as if she dared to dream of unbreakable sisterly bonds. Buck, however, felt a storm brewing, as if the line between happiness and despair was far too thin. "Welcome to Texas," Buck said, forcing out stability into his voice. But even as those words left his lips, he couldn't ignore the whispers swelling in his gut. Something about the way Elena surveyed the ranch made it clear that she wasn't merely here as a sister. She sought deeper ties that might pull them into uncharted darkness. Just then, a muted crash broke the tension as Mabel, the old cat, barreled out of the barn, hissing defensively at Elena. The moment hung thick and electrified, a small chaos erupting in their fragile new reality. Buck's heart plummeted as he exchanged glances with Lily, a flicker of fear igniting between them. What had they just invited into their lives? Unbeknownst to all, the shadows looming beyond the ranch whispered of secrets, and the sister who arrived was anything but ordinary. Little did they know that chaos was merely the beginning. The air was thick with unspoken words as the moment stretched, every muscle in Buck's body taut with unease. He could feel Mabel's angry hisses puncturing the initial peace, interrupting the tentative goodwill hanging in the air. But Elena stood her ground, eyes locked onto Buck and Lily, unyielding and curious. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice smooth and casual. But there was something behind those dark eyes, a glimmer of something Buck could not quite place. He cleared his throat, forcing a smile he didn't feel. "Just getting familiar with the surroundings," he managed, trying to play off the sudden tension. Lily darted back to Elena, her enthusiasm only slightly dampened by her father's apprehension. "Can you come see my room?" she gushed, tugging on Elena's sleeve, pulling her away from Buck's haunted gaze. Elena allowed herself to smile, the expression wrapping around Lily's heart like a warm embrace. All the while, Buck stood rooted in place, the weight of uncertainty pressing heavily on him. He pulled his cap lower, shielding himself from the glaring sun and the growing shroud of fear. Was this really what he wanted? Had he made a grave mistake in bringing someone so foreign, so unknown, into their fragile world? As the two women retreated, Buck's thoughts spiraled. He wandered toward the barn, seeking solace in the familiar sense of hay and leather. But instead, he stumbled upon something that sent a chill straight down his spine, a torn photograph, half buried beneath a stack of old feed sacks. Curiosity gripped him as he knelt to retrieve it. The weight of the faded paper felt heavy in his hands. Buck squinted at the image. It was a group of women smiling in a way that felt forced, too vibrant, and beneath the surface chaos lay dark shadows just like Elena's. The sound of footsteps pulled him from his reverie. Buck looked up, his heart racing as Elena approached, her expression unreadable but her gaze piercing through the dim light. "What is that?" she asked, nodding to the photograph still clutched in his hand. "Just a reminder of the past," he replied, voice unsteady. "Isn't it beautiful?" She stepped closer, an unsettling smile stretching across her lips. To capture those moments, even in darkness. Buck's pulse quickened at hers. The way she spoke turned the air electric, making his skin itch. "Right," he said, retreating slightly, discomfort wrapping around him like a coiling serpent. Elena tilted her head, her voice dropping to something more intimate. "You know, Buck, everything has its price. Just like this farm, and your daughter's happiness. Aren't you willing to pay it?" He opened his mouth, words failing him. What did she mean? What price was she referring to? Mabel, still agitated, suddenly darted past them like a bolt of lightning, and that startled Buck back to the present. He found himself momentarily distracted by the cat's chaotic movement. But when he looked back at Elena, she was already staring at him intently, waiting for a response. "Every choice has consequences, you know," she continued, mischief glistening in her eyes. "I just hope you know what you're getting into." Buck swallowed hard, struggling against the rising lump in his throat. It felt as if the ranch were closing in around him, shadows stretching and curling beneath the light, filling the air with hints of danger. Just then, his phone buzzed in his pocket, an interruption that was both a relief and a curse. He fished it out and glanced at the screen, an unknown number. Heart racing, he felt an urge to ignore it, yet something compelled him to answer. "Hello?" he said cautiously, and a voice, unfamiliar yet haunting, whispered on the other end. "You've welcomed her into your life, but there's more to Elena than you realize." The call disconnected, leaving Buck staring at the phone, all the breath rushing from him in a whoosh. Had he really welcomed chaos? Outside, he heard laughter between Lily and Elena. But it echoed oddly, echoing against the walls of his mind, filling him with dread. What lay ahead when the light dimmed? As Buck stepped back toward the house, he could feel the walls closing in both around him and within his family. What was the truth behind Elena, and what darkness had started to stir? The night was coming, and with it, promises of secrets yet to unfold. The night wrapped itself around the ranch like a heavy blanket, thick and suffocating. Buck sat on the porch, the creaking of worn wood beneath him mirroring the tension in his chest. Shadows danced in the flickering light of the lantern. His mind raced with the remnants of that call, the eerie echo still clinging to the air. Who had warned him about Elena? And why did he feel as if he was walking into a trap? He scanned the dim yard, his eyes drawn to the barn where he'd found the photograph. A sudden gust of wind sent a shiver through him, and for a moment, he thought he heard whispering, a soft, persistent rustle that urged him to investigate. Yet, the weight of his responsibilities pulled him back. Lily's laughter from inside the house momentarily calmed him. She was blissfully unaware of the darkness swirling around them. Just then, he spotted Elena in the barn's doorway, her silhouette framed by soft moonlight. An unsettling serenity enveloped her, like she belonged to this haunting setting. Buck's instincts screamed at him to stay away, but a blend of curiosity and dread compelled him to stand up and move toward her. "What are you doing out here?" he asked, his voice quavering. "Admiring the night," she replied, with that same unsettling smile that sent ice coursing through his veins. "It's like the world is holding its breath, waiting." "Waiting for what?" Buck demanded, feeling a burst of bravado wash over him, but instantly regretting it as he stepped closer to the barn. "Waiting for truths to emerge," she answered cryptically, tilting her head like a curious bird. Just like the women in that photograph you found. They were waiting too, you know. Waiting for the right moment to let go, or to hold on. His skin prickled with unease. You know about that? Oh, I know more than you think, Buck. I've spent time here. I can feel the energy. This place has its stories, its ghosts. It's a tapestry woven with secrets. Elena stepped back into the barn, glancing over her shoulder. The shadows swallowed her whole. Desperate not to lose her, Buck rushed forward. Wait. What do you mean ghosts? You can't just say things like that and disappear. She turned, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that rattled him. You're standing at a crossroads, Buck. What are you afraid of? The ghosts of the past? Or the specters of your choices? None of this makes sense, he snapped. You keep talking in riddles. Some riddles are meant to be unraveled, she said softly. What if I told you that Lily's happiness is bound to the choices we make today? What if the answer to a brighter future means embracing the darkness? Enough. His hands clenched into fists. You don't get to toy with my family like this. Ah, but aren't you already in the midst of it? You invited me into your home, Buck. You wanted help, and yet. I feel your hesitation. Tell me, did you really think you could manage the truth without facing its consequences? The air grew thick, and Buck stepped back, gasping as uncertainty engulfed him. The barn felt alive, pulsing with energy, shadows wrapping around every forgotten secret. The photograph flashed back in his mind, a haunting smile, and the darkness lurking behind it. Before he could respond, a high-pitched scream cut through the night from the house. Buck's heart dropped. Lily. He bolted toward the sound, fear gripping his chest, the world suddenly moving in slow motion. What was happening? As Buck reached the threshold, he saw Lily standing frozen, eyes wide with terror, pointing toward the back of the house. What is it, honey? He asked, desperately inching toward her. It's her. Definitely not who you think. She gasped, voice trembling. Buck felt the blood drain from his face. The darkness was coming for them, and now it had stepped into the light. What did Elena hide behind that bewildering facade? With dread pooling in his stomach, he turned back to where the shadows lay thickest, dread clinging to him like a second skin. The answers were coming, but would they be what he truly wished for? The air in the house felt electric, thick with tension. Buck's heart raced as he stood, rooted to the spot, his mind racing to comprehend Lily's terrified words. Not who I think. The weight of her panic hung in the air like a chilling fog. Lily, what do you mean? Buck's voice cracked, every instinct screaming for him to protect his daughter. He stepped closer, desperately searching her wide eyes for answers. Suddenly, chaos erupted. The back door creaked open, revealing a figure shrouded in darkness. Buck's hands trembled as he braced himself for whatever horror lay ahead. The moonlight cascaded through the doorway, illuminating the intruder, a woman whose familiar features made Buck's stomach twist. Elena? He gasped, disbelief clawing at him. Instinctively, he moved closer to Lily. What are you doing here? But this wasn't the same Elena he had just seen in the barn. This version loomed with a malevolent energy, eyes glinting like shards of ice. She stepped forward, an unnatural calm surrounding her. I came to find you to help you. Help? You terrified my daughter. Buck shot back, fury blazing in his chest. The alarm bells inside him rang louder. What had he invited into their lives? The woman smiled a smile that was wrong, too wide and too knowing. Lily shuddered beside him, her small hand gripping Buck's arm as if seeking refuge. You must listen, Buck. There is something you need to understand about the past, about me. What are you talking about? Buck snapped, each word laced with anger and fear. He wanted to shake her, to make this sinister mirage disappear. You need to leave. Leave. We're connected by this place, by the secrets buried here. The photograph. It was only the beginning. Her voice flowed like a river, smooth and hypnotic, pulling Buck in yet pushing him away simultaneously. You don't even see the shadows that stalk you. What shadows? He demanded, but doubt crept into his mind, like a spider weaving a web. Suddenly, the air shifted. An oppressive weight began to fill the space, darkness spilling through the doorway like a pot boiling over. The temperature dropped, a chill seeped into Buck's bones. He instinctively shielded Lily, wrapping his arms around her, but he could feel her trembling, his brave little girl terrified in his embrace. Elena, what did you bring with you? He whispered, dread curling in the pit of his stomach. Just the truth, she replied, with a laugh like broken glass. In that moment, a shadow flickered across the walls, like a specter teasing the edges of reality. Buck's heart pounded as another form emerged, this one wavering and translucent, like it was not truly of this world. The figure twisted through the darkness, ethereal yet familiar, sending shivers racing up Buck's spine. Lily, get back! He shouted, pushing her behind him, eyes locked on the haunting figure gaining shape before them. The shadows seemed to gather, coiling around the light. What is it? Lily's voice, so small, barely broke through the rising dread. The past, Elena whispered, her gaze unfocused. It's come to claim its due. An icy sweat trickled down Buck's spine. Voices began to rise, a cacophony of whispers weaving through the night. Words layered with pain. Realization dawned like the brightest summer sun. He was not just facing a woman, he was confronting the echoes of forgotten history, the spirits of those once lost. You're not here to help. You're the vanguard of this darkness, Buck seethed, struggling to keep his composure. Elena tilted her head, an amused smile forming as the air crackled louder with every passing second. Oh, but you invited this darkness in yourself, Buck. You sought the truth. And now it's time to face it. Buck's mind reeled. The night had turned against him, the shadows dancing to a tune he couldn't comprehend, wrapping around them like sinuous serpents. Lily. We need to get out of here. He reached for her, but before he could pull her away from the chaos, her gaze fixed on something behind him, her expression a mixture of horror and awe. Daddy, look! A jolt of fear shot through him as he turned. Heart pounding. Whatever he thought he was prepared for had just yet revealed its true face. As the shadows closed in, the truth chilled him to the bone. Was there any escape from this darkness that now threatened to swallow them whole? The door creaked ominously, and in that moment, Buck realized the depths of the storm they had awakened, what awaited beyond the doorway that had opened to the past. The figure materialized slowly in the dim light, an unsettling blend of familiarity and dread. Buck's breath caught in his throat as he tried to discern its features among the swirling shadows. There, in stark contrast against the darkness, a face emerged, pale, drawn, and eyes that seemed hollowed by sorrow. Mom. The word tumbled from Buck's lips, barely a whisper, as disbelief twisted in his gut. The apparition wore an expression that was all too familiar, one he had seen in photographs and dream-laden memories, the kind that came unbidden in the quiet hours of the night. No, Buck gritted out, shaking his head as if he could will the truth away. You're not real. But the figure stepped forward, gliding through the darkness with an unsettling grace. I am as real as your fear, Buck. Her voice was achingly soft, but the dank chill that swept through the room drowned out any warmth her words might have held. Stay away. Buck shouted, instinctively pulling Lily tighter against him, her small frame trembling violently. He turned his gaze back to Elena, the agent of this torment, fury and confusion wrestling in his heart. What are you doing? Why are you bringing this here? This is where you must reckon with your past, Elena answered flatly, her expression now cold, devoid of the earlier pretense. What you've repressed cannot remain buried forever. She is here to speak the truths you refuse to acknowledge. The air thickened with tension, every heartbeat echoing like a muffled drum in Buck's ears. His mother's ghost shifted, her eyes pleading, filled with emotions that were sharp and raw. You have to listen, Buck. There is something you don't know, something about this land, about the curse that binds it. Curse? What curse? He pressed, fear churning violently in his stomach. He brought darkness here, the ghost whispered, her lips trembling as she spoke the words that settled like frost on his heart. It has seeped into the very soil. The blood of those lost stains every inch of this property. You must break the cycle, only then can you protect Lily. Protect her. Buck's voice cracked, rage boiling beneath the surface. She shouldn't even have to hear this. Lily pulled at his arm, panic sparking in her bright eyes. Daddy, it's okay, we can listen. Maybe we can help. No. You don't understand. But the whispers swelled again, rising like smoke, surrounding him. Yearning, regret, anger, they all pressed down on him, overwhelming in their intensity. Shadows lashed out, swirling dangerously close, and that familiar voice, the one that haunted him in every sleepless moment, grew louder, almost frantic. Buck! His mother cried, anguish etched across her spectral features. You must confront what has been done in the name of this land. Don't let it take her too, please. Just then, a piercing scream cut through the veil of whispers. Buck jerked, hardly aware of taking a step forward, of moving his body toward the heart of the chaos. The shadows seemed to warp and writhe, coiling around his feet like chains, threatening to drag him into an abyss he knew he was ready to face. Through the swirling darkness, he glimpsed another figure, a man, tall and imposing, with a face that flickered in and out of clarity. Recognition hit like a punch to the gut. Dad? Lily gasped, clutching Buck tighter. What is happening? Lily, run! Buck yelled, even as he felt the pull of history dragging him closer. The air grew heavy, and in that moment, all he could think was that he had played into this destiny, stepping over boundaries that should have stayed untouched. Elena's voice broke through, dark and taunting. You wanted the truth, Buck. Now you stand at the crossroads, decide before it's too late. All at once, the walls around them seemed to pulse. Echoes of laughter and cries intertwined, and Buck felt himself teetering on the edge of that storm, caught between ghosts of the past and the future he swore to protect. Desperation clawed at his throat. How could he shield Lily from a truth so haunting that it could unravel everything they held dear? Behind him, the figures loomed closer, a chorus demanding his attention, shadows and whispers pulling at the very threads of his sanity. Make your choice, Buck. With every heartbeat, he could feel the thin red line between the living and the dead, the past and the present, every moment stretching taut as a wire. As the darkness closed in around them, a fleeting thought danced through his mind. Would they be consumed by this nightmare, or would he dare to fight back against the past he didn't understand? What sacrifice awaited him on this treacherous path? The shadows spun like a tempest, twisting and turning as they expanded, each lurching tendril forming a wall of dark intent. Buck felt the air turn icy around him, the chill kissing his skin and sinking deep into his bones. He squeezed Lily tighter, her small frame barely able to withstand the weight of fear that hung heavily between them. Dad! The word felt stuck in Buck's throat, jagged and raw. His father's spirit loomed, flickering like a candle flame, uncertain and frayed at the edges. What do you want from us? The flickering visage of his father twisted into a snarl. You think it's too late for you to leave this place? Too late to escape what we've done? His voice was a thunderclap echoing off invisible cliffs, reverberating around the room. It's never too late, but what you must do will require a price. No. Buck shouted back, voice rising to a pitch that startled even himself. I want to pay with her life. You can't take her. Lily's eyes glimmered with tears, searching Buck's face for reassurance, but the pit in his stomach churned deeper as he saw the fear reflected there. His mother's ghost flickered again, the sadness in her eyes cutting through him like shards of glass. Buck, the curse goes far beyond this land, it's in your blood. In his blood. You need to confront it fully, or it will hunt you down. Confront what? He spat back, grappling with the shadows drawing near. What do I need to face? But deep down, he already knew the answer, and it churned like a storm cloud in his mind. His father took a step closer, the room vibrating with a terrible energy. The legacy of pain, the loss we caused. You thought fleeing would end the cycle? His voice darkened, heavy with the weight of guilt. But running won't break the chains that bind the living to the dead. Enough. Buck roared. You don't get to do this to her. You lost the right. The swirl of shadows thickened, their whispers now a dull roar in his ears, working their way into his mind. A memory surged forth, a young boy clutching a wooden toy as shadows loomed, whispers of regret chasing him into the night. Buck staggered back, gripping Lily's shoulders. Look at me. You need to be brave now. The earth seemed to tremble underfoot, and the walls of their world began to close in. Lily, tremulous but determined, met his gaze. It's okay, Daddy. I want to help. Let me help. No. You can't. His heart raced as the shadows pressed in closer, cold tendrils snaking around Lily's ankles. Panic rose like bile in his throat. Was she seriously going to stand here and join the fray? Lily, listen. You're supposed to be safe. In that moment, his mother's ghost stepped between them, a barrier of ethereal light, her presence vibrant even as it flickered. Protect her by facing the truth together. Reveal the darkness, and perhaps you can light the way for others lost in this darkness. But what if it consumes us instead? Buck's voice caught, desperation clawing at the edges of his resolve. Then we fight together. She implored, urging him with an intensity that threatened to fracture the boundaries of his understanding. That a primal scream echoed through the room, and Buck realized that cry belonged to him. He was teetering on a precipice, dread threatening to engulf them all. What price? He asked, though the answer made his heart race. Elena stepped forward, her face twisted in a smirk. The price is always blood, Buck. Yours or hers. You decide. Buck lurched, staring at the swirling mass of vortex before him. A thought ignited like gunpowder in his head. Was he truly prepared to sacrifice everything he cared for? With one final breath, Buck faced his parents' shadows, resolve hardening inside him like iron. I will not let this darkness take her. I'll learn the truth, even if it kills me. But what awaited him beyond the veil of shadows was still a mystery, and as he stepped forward, the walls quaked with a new fire. Would the truth bring liberation or despair? Would he emerge to confront the darkness or fade into the whispers of the past? The choice lay ahead, and with each passing moment, the veil between life and death thinned further. The shadows surged forward, rippling like ink in water, hungry and relentless. Buck could feel their chill crawling like ice over his skin, and yet he pressed on with Lily at his side. The world around them senselessly churned, the air thick with despair, guilt, and something darker, sinister and primal. Together, remember. Buck's voice shook as the ghostly forms of his parents swirled, faces twisted in anguish and fury. Their words echoed in his mind, heavy as iron shackles binding him to this fate. He had once thought love could shield them, but here, love felt alarmingly like a noose tightening. Lily squeezed his hand, her small fingers trembling but fierce. Whatever it is, Daddy, we can do it. I believe in us. Her voice was fragile, yet there was a spark in her eye that pushed him onward. He stared down into her innocent gaze, willing to face any terror for her sake. The shadows swirled, a vortex of whispers. They spoke of loss, of forgotten promises, memories spiraling to the surface like ghosts clawing their way out of the abyss. Each word pounded against his chest, squeezing the very heart from his body. You owe us, they intoned, voices myriad but unified. You owe us for abandoning your duty. The specter of his father loomed larger, distorted by anger and grief. Buck's throat tightened. I didn't abandon anything. I was trying to save her. But even as he spoke, doubt crept in, biting at his resolve. Had fleeing this cursed legacy truly been an escape? Or had it merely delayed the inevitable reckoning that now loomed over them like a storm cloud threatening to burst? The shadows pressed closer, claws made of darkness reaching toward Lily. Buck could hear their whispers now, a terrible song of sorrow and regret. Blood must be spilled to break the cycle. Do you understand? No. Buck roared, voice raw and primal, rising above the cacophony. The fire inside him flared, biting back against despair. I refuse. I won't be a part of this madness. But deep down, a voice whispered. What will it take to truly protect her? How deep must that blood run? His mother's face looked at him then, defiant and sorrowful, shimmering as if caught in a dream. You cannot fight a ghost without acknowledging its pain. To sever these ties, you must confront your own heartache. Lily blinked up at him, earnestness etched into her young features. I'll be brave, Daddy. I'll face it with you. But could a child truly endure the weight of his legacy? The ghost swelled around her, an ocean of despair, claws snapping like jaws of a beast eager to devour any warmth left in the storm. Legacy or love? Elena's sarcastic laughter echoed, a chilling reminder of the cost waiting just outside their reach. Either way, blood will have to flow. No, no. Buck staggered back, mind raging against the implications. You are not taking her from me. With a sudden burst of determination, he gripped Lily's hand tightly. We will find the truth together, no matter what shadows rise against us. Lily nodded, but the shadows surged, tendrils stretching out like hungry snakes, reaching for their souls. Panic rose steeply in Buck's chest. He could feel the weight of lives lost and debts unpaid crushing down upon them like a landslide. Then let us end this cycle. He shouted, heart racing, fists clenched in defiance. The tempest roared, shadows screeching, swirling faster and faster until they formed a tower of pure darkness, a sentient wall blocking their escape. Buck stepped forward, feeling the prickle of electric tension in the air, but at the last moment, the shadows parted slightly, revealing a horrific truth. A scene from his past unfolded, a shrouded memory of blood and betrayal. A memory tied to him, tightly bound to his fate and Lily's daddy. Lily cried out, horrified eyes locked onto the figure stepping out from the darkness, someone he thought he'd buried long ago. With his heart in his throat, Buck braced himself, feeling the walls trembling with terror. The linchpin of their fate dangled perilously at their feet, and Buck's breath hitched as he realized. What if confronting the darkness meant facing a version of himself he had long hoped to forget? The shadows tilted, as if waiting for his answer. Would he bow to fate or carve a new path? The air crackled with tension as the figure reached for him, and Buck was struck dumb with the weight of choices yet to come. What would he do now? The darkness awaited. The figure stepped forward, resolving from the obsidian mist, and Buck felt his heart stutter. There, emerging from the depths, was a silhouette that shattered the very foundation of his soul. It was a reflection but twisted, it wore his face, a grotesque mockery of who he was now. Hello, Buck, the doppelganger smirked, eyes flickering like dying stars. Long time no see. Get away from her. Buck shouted, panic splitting his voice as he shielded Lily behind him. The whispering shadows twisted around him, their claws scraping against his very essence, urging him to relent, to bow to the inevitable. Oh, I'm not here to hurt her, the figure said, stepping into a patch of dim light that barely pierced the darkness. I'm here to help, to guide you. Buck's mind raced. Help? Was that what this thing wanted? The shadows hissed like snakes, seeping into his thoughts, dredging up memories of mistakes, loss, and a childhood haunted by his own failures. You're lying. Buck screamed, projecting defiance as if it could shield him from the truth. You think you can outrun what you are? It laughed, a sound both familiar and dreadful. Your blood runs thick with the things that burden this family. You cannot escape. Buck's breath was jagged, each inhale heavy with fear and adrenaline. Memories of his parents' tormented faces pleading swam in front of him. The harder he fought to deny those voices, the clearer they became, wrapping around him like barbed wire. I left that life behind. Did you? The figure taunted, folding its arms, the shadows swirling around it like a black cloak. Tell me, Buck, what are you willing to sacrifice to protect her? Is it worth it if you condemn her to the same fate? No. Buck shouted. I won't doom her to this. You were a monster that nearly killed my dreams. Not a monster, it whispered, voice dripping with false sweetness. A part of you. You forget, I am your reflection. Every choice, every ounce of pain, has brought you here. Lily tugged on his sleeve, her little voice breaking through the chaos. Daddy, I'm scared. He turned to her, desperate to reassure her, to block out the vision of the thing before him. Lily, listen to me. No matter what happens, I will always protect you. We will find a way out. But even as he held her gaze, doubt churned in Buck's stomach. Could he really protect her from this nightmare? The ethereal breeze caught around them, whispering secrets, taunts of betrayal echoing in the air. You think you can shelter her? The figure cracked, eyeing Lily with malevolence. You're only planting the seeds for the future. She will face darkness greater than you know. A cold sweat trickled down Buck's back. He felt the weight of their ancestors, their struggles, echoing with every heartbeat. The shadows writhed, energy crackling as they closed in, eroding the space around them. It's time to confront what you have forgotten, the figure said, a calculating glint in its eyes. Accept that home has shackles, and only blood can sever them. No. Buck roared again, this time unleashing all the fear and fury into his voice. He stepped toward the figure, heart racing, every instinct telling him to run, yet something deep inside urged him forward. I'm not like you. The figure's expression flickered, frustration breaking through its facade. We'll see, Buck. The cycle continues until you shatter it, but I will always be here. Whether you like it or not. Darkness pulsed, the shadows closing tighter around him and Lily, forcing him to confront the rage boiling within. He had to choose. Could he break the chain binding them to suffering? Daddy. Lily's voice pierced through the cacophony, pulling him from the brink. Buck took a deep breath, steeling himself as he tightened his grip on her hand. Together, he whispered fiercely. But the fight was far from over. Just beyond the looming figure, more shadows loomed closer, coiling in anticipation. As fury mixed with fear, Buck realized that they were at the edge of a precipice. What would be required to unravel the past? And as darkness threatened to swallow them whole, he wondered, would he find courage in confronting the legacy of pain, or would it consume them both? The veil of shadows thickened, claws bared, as destiny reached for them once more. What awaited them on the other side of those shadows? Buck felt the tide of darkness press against him, a relentless surge teetering on the edge of control. It whispered promises and threats, weaving through his thoughts like smoke, trying to choke out the spark of light left in the room. The shadowy figure before him grinned, anticipation dancing in its eyes, as if it had long awaited this moment. Do you believe you're strong enough to change your fate? It taunted, voice dripping with sarcasm. I'm just a reminder of what you wish to forget, the part of you that runs deep, shaped by blood. You think you can escape me? No. Buck's voice boomed, shaking off the tremors of fear that threatened to pull him under. You don't own me, or my family. Tension cracked in the air as Lily squeezed his hand, her little fingers taut with worry. Daddy, stay close, she urged, her innocence a fragile shield against the storm of anguish swirling around them. Buck's resolve hardened. He stood firm, heart throbbing like a war drum in his chest. I will not let this darkness take us. Not again. He thought of his mother, the love she poured, the family they'd lost, and felt a swell of defiance ripple through him. They would not pay the blood price for freedom any longer. Through the shadows, he caught glimpses of memories sensed yet never fully acknowledged. Regret. Betrayal. Loss. They flashed like old film reels, flickering through the darkness, the faces of his parents, their pain echoing in the corners of the room. But they weren't just shadows, they were the embodiment of sacrifice, tied to the choices he had made, and now, they demanded attention. Face it all, Buck, the ghostly figure smirked, voice sultry and sinister. Embrace the legacy, or let it consume you. No. Buck shouted again, shaking off the challenge like an unwanted weight. I'm not my past. I'm the choices I make now, and I will choose to protect my daughter. Silence fell as the shadows hesitated, arching back momentarily as his conviction washed over like a cleansing wave. Buck turned to Lily, her scared eyes glimmering with hope. Listen closely, sweetheart, he said, kneeling to her eye level. We need to remember the love that forged us. That's how we defeat this darkness. I want to be brave with you, Dad, she replied, summoning fierceness into her small frame. The doppelganger sneered, but Buck stood straighter, the fire of determination igniting like a wildfire within him. He could feel it building, like thunder rumbling in the distance. You think you can break us? Not today. We are bound by love, not by blood or curses. In that moment, Buck took a decisive step forward, drawing strength from Lily's unwavering belief in him. The shadows twisted and contorted at his words, seeming to recoil from the warmth radiating through them. We won't be part of this cycle anymore. He yelled, and with every ounce of energy in his body, he channeled every horror, regret, and yearning into a piercing light that erupted from within him. As the light surged forth, shadows shrieked like trapped animals, thrashing against the brilliance as they weakened. Buck reached for his daughter, their hands intertwining, and together, they stepped into the onslaught of darkness. This ends now. They declared in unison, casting their love as a shield against the tide of torment. The moment enveloped them, the shadows recoiling, the very fabric of their being unraveling. The flood of light pierced through the clutches of despair, illuminating the room in a radiant glow. Buck felt the gravity of regret shift, the chains binding their anguish snapping like dry twigs, freeing them from the weight of unclaimed legacies. Lily's laughter rang clear as the tendrils of shadows dissipated, curling back into nothingness, leaving only whispers of a past that had failed to suffocate their future. A crushing silence filled the void, the eerie calm following the storm, as Buck and Lily stood victorious, a bond renewed, stitched together by hope. And in that silence, Buck felt something shift within him, an unburdening that felt like weightless flight. The family that had been lost, the past now faded, gave way to a brighter horizon. We did it, Lily, he exclaimed, grinning down at her, heart swelling with pride and relief. Yes. We faced the darkness together. She cheered, with pure delight shining back at him, a beacon of hope amongst the ruins. As they turned to leave the confines of their past behind, Buck caught sight of Elena standing at the edge of the collapsing shadows, a twisted expression crossing her face. The darkness had disbanded, and he felt a moment of clarity. You won't hold us hostage anymore, he declared, determination radiating. Elena laughed hollowly, yet even that felt like a distant echo, fading as the last remnants of shadow withered. You think you've escaped? She taunted. But shadows will always linger. His heart raced. But Buck simply smiled, the light of newfound purpose illuminating his expression. Not anymore. As they walked together into the light of a new dawn, both father and daughter were unshackled from the past, foreseeing a future that hadn't yet been written, but promised strength, resilience, and love. The ranch, stripped of its weighty history, stood tall, vibrant with a new energy. Buck felt hope tingling in his bones, and he turned to Lily, finally free of the specters that had haunted them. Let us begin again. And together, they stepped forward, leaving the darkness behind. With the finality of the moment settling in, Buck turned to the audience, inviting them into this next chapter of hope. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share this with your friends. Smash that like button now so you don't miss any exclusive tales ahead. And flood the comments with your thoughts and reactions about this wild ride. Together, let us create a community built on resilience and love.